Hey guys, it's Kira and welcome to another vlog. Today is Monday the 24th of August, which means that first of all is the first day of the last full week of August, which I'm so excited about because that means that next week is kind of the start of autumn, which I just cannot wait for. And it is also the very first day of the Summerween readathon, which is a readathon that's being hosted this week from today the 24th until Sunday the 30th. It's being hosted by Gabby from the channel Gabby Reads and Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte. And essentially, if you can't guess from the title, Summerween is essentially a readathon which is all about bringing those spooky autumn Halloween vibes to the end of summer, and I am so here for it. So I will of course link Gabby and Olivia's channels and some information about the readathon down below so you can go and check that out. But essentially it's all about just reading spooky books and essentially trying to just pretend that it's autumn, even though technically we still have a little bit of summer left. So there are 5 prompts for this readathon and I have already uploaded a TBR, so you can go and check that out if you want to see what I'm planning on reading. I don't know if I'm going to be able to read all 5 books just because I am working this week, and I'm actually also hosting a 24-hour readathon with my friend Carolyn, which is a Rory Gilmore one, on Saturday. So I'm going to have to take one day out of Summerween just to spend time being Rory Gilmore, which I'm also super excited about. But essentially I've picked 5 books and I'm hoping to be able to read as many of them as possible. And the first one that I'm making a start on is The Guest List by Lucy Foley, which I've picked up for the prompt to read a book that's been recommended to you by one of the hosts because Gabby mentioned this one in her announcement video for Summerween. I've already read The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, which I really liked, and essentially this is a murder mystery set at a wedding which is taking place on a very remote island off the coast of Ireland. And the way that Lucy Foley's books seem to work is that you have multiple timelines of a past timeline leading up to when this body is found, and then also after the body is found and sort of the mystery trying to be solved. And we also have multiple perspectives, which I think is really, really good. So the bit that I've read so far has just essentially been a prologue about just generally what's happening on the wedding night, and then I guess, yes, that's the prologue, what's happening on the wedding night. Then we've also had the wedding planner called Aoife and also a guest at the wedding called Hannah. So we're getting introduced to all of the characters gradually and just seeing little bits of tension showing up, which is very exciting. So I'm going to be continuing this one later on when I'm on my lunch break at work. But I also wanted to mention that whilst I am doing Summerween this week, I am also going to be picking up a book and talking about this book in this vlog, although it's definitely not a spooky book, and that is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. So I started this book last night and made my way through 77 pages of it, and so far I'm really, really loving it. The reason I'm reading this one during Summerween week, even though it's definitely not a spooky book, is just because this is my pick for the E=MC² book club for August, and the live show for this book is going to be on Sunday the 30th. And I generally like to try and read book club picks in the week before the live show, just so that everything that I've read is fresh in my mind and I'm ready to go into a really big discussion with all of the details really clear. And so I decided to just wait until this week to read this one because I just wanted to make sure that everything was really fresh so that I could have a super in-depth discussion with Em and Molly when we come to the live show on Sunday. So like I said, I'm 77 pages in and I'm loving it. This is the first ever book that I've read that is written in verse, which is really interesting. So essentially this is a dual perspective narrative. We have 2 girls, Camino and Yahaira, who are sisters, although they don't know it. And they essentially find out that their dad has been living a dual life, and then their dad passes away in a plane crash, and I think that is where the fact of his dual lifestyle and the fact that he has 2 separate families is going to come to light. So at this point it's very, very soon after the accident has happened that causes their dad to pass away, and so they're still very much living separate lives, but I think I'm assuming of course that is going to kind of converge and that they're going to kind of meet and sort of figure out things from there. But I'm really, really enjoying it and I'll definitely be keeping you updated. I also thought that it might be nice to have a non-spooky book in this week's TBR, just because although I'm not reading this one for Summerween, it might be a nice little break if I don't fancy reading something super dark and spooky at any point. So with that being said, I have these 2 books on the go and I'm really enjoying both of them so far. I'm currently just about to head out to work, and like I said, I'm taking The Guest List with me and reading that on my lunch break, and I'll catch up with you later. of knew this was going to be the case, but yesterday was not the best day for reading. It was a Monday, and Mondays are always hectic, so I kind of expected it, but that just essentially means that it wasn't the strongest start to the readathon. But that's okay, because today is a new day. It's of course Tuesday morning, and I've woken up to what can only be described as the perfect Summerween day, by which I mean that it is absolutely pouring with rain outside. It is so grey and gloomy and rainy, and I am so here for it because it literally just feels like I have just pulled autumn in along with this readathon, and honestly that just makes me so happy. I'm also especially happy about that fact because I'm working from home today, which means that I can enjoy the sound of rain on the windows all day long, knowing full well that I do not have to leave the house even once if I don't want to. And that's kind of my plan. I'm obviously working for the majority of the day, but I don't have to travel to work, so I don't have to drive for like 40 minutes to get there. I don't have to drive 40 minutes to get home, and that means I have a lot more time for reading today because all that time that I would have spent commuting can now be reading time, and I've actually already done quite a bit of reading this morning. So yesterday I managed to read about 50 pages, and this morning I continued reading the guest list, and I'm now on page 166. So I've pretty much read 110 pages already this morning, and I'm absolutely loving this book. It's basically everything that I expected and hoped for, and it's just absolutely living up to all of my expectations. I had quite high expectations for this book just based on the fact that I read The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley so recently, and I enjoyed that one a lot and was hoping for something similar with this one, and luckily that is exactly what I've gotten. So yesterday I think I mentioned that this is a murder mystery which is set around a wedding that's taking place on a small island just off the coast of Ireland, and we're just kind of getting introduced to all of the characters. It's multiple perspectives and multiple timelines. So the way that the timelines works is that every so often we get a chapter that's titled Now, and that is where you're kind of being told about the discovery of a body and the murder has actually taken place. And then we also have timelines leading up to that event. So we've had a couple of days before the wedding, and now we're on the day of the wedding, and we're also seeing multiple different characters and seeing things from all of their different perspectives. So I think we have 5 perspectives altogether. We have Aoife, who is the wedding planner. We have Jules, who is the bride. We have Olivia, who is Jules's half-sister and also her bridesmaid. We have Hannah, who is the wife of Jules's best friend, Charlie. And then we also have Jono, who is the best man at the wedding. So lots of different perspectives, and then of course there are lots of other characters who we don't get their perspectives, but they are kind of being built up as well along with the characters whose perspectives we're actually getting. And at the point that we're at currently, the body still hasn't been discovered, so we're still at the morning of the wedding day. So we have those now points, and I think at some point it's going to converge so that we get past the murder and into the discovery part, and I'm very, very interested to see where it goes, because at this point I have no idea who the victim is going to be and who the murderer is going to be as well, which is why I think Lucy Foley's murder mysteries are so compelling. But essentially there are lots of different cracks. We have Jules and Olivia, who have kind of a bit of a rocky sisterly relationship. We have Hannah, who kind of feels a bit of jealousy towards Jules because her husband is such good friends with Jules. We also have the best man, who Jules does not like, and also the best man seems to maybe have something over the groom, and that's kind of why we think he's the best man. And we also have the fact that Jules was left a note a few days before the wedding telling her not to get married, but we don't know who it's from and why they sent it. So there's lots of different layers, and I'm absolutely loving it. Cannot wait to see what happens. I am of course about to start work for the day, so I'm probably not going to be able to do any more reading now until the evening because I have an exciting meeting on my lunch break, which I can't wait, and I think I'm also going to FaceTime Em, so I'm going to be reading some more this evening. But for now, because it is such a gloomy day, I actually think I'm going to go and make myself either a hot chocolate or a cup of chai just to kickstart the day. So let's do that. Okay, so it is now Wednesday evening. I've literally just gotten home from work and I do have some reading updates to share with you later on, but I came home to this package. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I have quite a good suspicion, and if it is what I think it is, I'm super excited about it because it might be something that I ordered quite a while ago. It came from America, so I had to wait quite a while, especially because with the pandemic and everything, shipping times are taking even longer, so I'm hoping it's what I think it is, but of course there's only one way to find out, so let's dig in. I think it's what I think it is. It's my own Luke's mug. I'm so excited about this. I just felt like it was time to get myself a Luke's Diner mug because I love Gilmore Girls so much, and although I absolutely love my Central Perk mug, I felt like it was only right to have a mug for my other favourite TV show as well.
Very good.
Okay, it is now Thursday morning and so that is day 4 of Summerween, and I just finished up with the guest lists. I have to say I've literally been living for this book over the past few days. It has just been so good, and like I've already mentioned, just everything that I was hoping it was going to be. I obviously had already read The Hunting Party, which was Lucy Foley's first book, and whilst I enjoyed that, there were certain parts of the book that I just didn't love as much as I hoped to, and mostly that surrounded a couple of structural things and the fact that some of the characters just felt a little bit too two-dimensional and I just couldn't really get invested in them, and I feel like all of those small parts of that book that I didn't quite enjoy as much as I wanted to had been resolved in this book, and I feel like it's quite obvious that this is a second book and it's kind of very similar to The Hunting Party, so having enjoyed that I had a pretty good feeling that I was going to enjoy this one, but it just feels like a slightly more refined version, and I feel like Lucy Foley just stepped it up even more, which I was really excited about. I also feel like, generally speaking, this one was a lot darker. The books that she has written obviously surround groups of friends and family who come together for this one celebration, and then there are cracks that start to show, secrets from the past, and different things that sort of come up that lead you to understand that literally anyone could be the victim and anyone could be the murderer. But I feel like those secrets and bits of hidden history in this book were a lot darker, which I personally really liked. I would say though that even still, the characters in this one, they do feel kind of like caricatures and like they're all fulfilling a particular role, and that is definitely an intentional thing, because each of the chapters are titled with a character's name and then their role. So we have literally, it'll say like Jules, the bride; Will, the groom; Olivia, the bridesmaid; Hannah, the +1. So these characters are all very much like fulfilling one particular role. So you have like the person whose life seems perfect but isn't quite. You have the person who is very fragile. You have the person who's a little bit of an outsider, and all of those types of things. So they're not necessarily super believable, realistic characters, because they do definitely feel like they're fulfilling a role within this murder mystery, but I feel like it just works really well in this case, and they definitely felt a lot more believable and more easy to get invested in than the ones in the hunting party. I was just thinking as I started to get towards the end of this book that if this book was to be a song on Taylor Swift's new album Folklore, it would definitely be Illicit Affairs, just because of how much secrecy and underhand behaviour goes on between all of the characters in this book. There were lots of surprises and many things that took me like completely off guard and I just did not see coming, and so it was a really fun murder mystery because there were so many different mysteries to try and solve, which I absolutely loved. So I'm going to be giving this one 5 stars, and this is definitely a great start to my Summerween readathon. Now obviously I wanted to read 5 books this week, and we're now on Thursday morning. I kind of expected that the first few days of this readathon were going to be a little bit slower just because I was at work, but I don't have any more work in the office for the rest of the week now. Today I am teaching a couple of yoga classes, and then tomorrow I'm free completely, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to catch up and do a little more reading over the next few days. But as I just said, I'm teaching a couple of yoga classes and I'm just heading out to teach one in a couple of moments, so I'm going to decide what my next read is going to be when I get back. Okay, so I'm just getting ready to go to yoga, but I'm impatient and I want to decide what I'm going to be reading when I get back now because I'm just impatient, but I'm also extremely indecisive. So I've narrowed it down from my TBR to Vicious by V.E. Schwab or Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And so these both sound so good and I don't know which one I want to read next, so I'm going to enlist a little bit of help because I'm so indecisive. So hello, I need your help.
But it might be calling it the sand. The red one.
No, I need your help to decide which book to read. I just finished my last book. There is no red one. Damn it. I want to either read, it's a book called Vicious by V.E. Schwab or Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia.
Go to page 223 on both books, whichever one has the letter I first wins.
Okay, let's find out. Which page number?
223.
223.
So I as in the word that you use all the time. Not just I in a word, I mean like someone saying I. And that can be, if it's not even on that page, just it's the first time.
Okay, so I'm in Vicious and that one has it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 letters in. It says am I.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 9 letters in.
It's gonna say a big effort from Mexican Gothic right here.
I know. 1 second. 2, 2, 3. Ah, this one's lost.
Yeah.
Alright, Vicious, thanks for your help, Jay.
That's your choice there, buddy.
Alright, Vicious it is.
Full stop. Can't believe I live in your thoughts. I think about you all the time, morning, evening, and midnight. Such a wonderful delight. Forgo, give up everything that I own. Yeah, I'd give it all up now just to be with you somehow. Unexpected love was found. You're the rose in a garden, and it shows shows if I'm honest. You're the leaves in mid-August, and I've come out here to say that I love you. Ooh, ooh, you, ooh, so slow. Hold you in my arms, won't let go. The world around could pass us by, a thunderstorm, a lightning strike, as we hold each other tight. You're the rose in a garden, and it shows if I'm honest. You're the leaves in mid-August, and I've come out here to say that I love you. Ooh, ooh, you, ooh, ooh, you, ooh, ooh, you, you're the rose in a garden, and it shows if I'm honest.
Okay guys, so it is now a Sunday evening, and of course yesterday I was preoccupied with my Rory Gilmore 24-hour readathon. That was such a fun day and I'm so excited to put that vlog live. That one will be up before this one, so I'll have it linked for you in the description box down below if you want to go and see what I read and got up to during that day. But it's now Sunday and I'm back to Summerween. I actually started out the day by completing my read of Clap When You Land, which actually technically isn't Summerween related but was a 5-star read and was absolutely incredible. Like I've mentioned, this was for the E=MC² book club, and our live show for this one is actually in like an hour's time, and I'm so excited to discuss this one with Em and Molly because it was just such an incredible book and I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. I'd heard really great things about it, but being that it was like the first book I've ever read that's written in verse, I just didn't know what I was going to think or if I was really going to connect with the characters. But I absolutely loved the way that it was written, the themes that it discussed, and just the story that it told. So absolutely loved this one and I'm so glad that I finally read it. I'm now looking at my copy of With the Fire on High, which is also by Elizabeth Acevedo, and getting very excited to hopefully pick that one up soon as well. And then since finishing off Clap When You Land, I've also picked up another book. Now, thanks to Jay the other day, I decided that my next pick was actually going to be Vicious by V.E. Schwab, but being so indecisive, I actually decided to throw that completely out the window, and I've now put my foot down and decided to pick up Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, because this one just sounds so interesting, and it's also just like the book at the moment that everyone is talking about, and I just wanted to know what the hype is all about basically. So I'm currently about 50 pages into this book, I think. I'm on the start of chapter 5, yeah, and I'm on page 48, so I've not made too much progress yet, but what I've read so far is very intriguing and dark and atmospheric, and I'm looking forward to exploring more of this later on. Now, tomorrow in the UK is actually a bank holiday, which means I don't have any work, so although technically today is Sunday and is the last official day of Summerween, because I ended up taking one day out of my Summerween week to do my Rory Gilmore readathon, I think I'm going to extend this vlog and also my Summerween week to include tomorrow, because I just feel like I might as well try and read as much of Mexican Gothic as possible before going back to work on Tuesday. So without further ado, I'm going to go and get ready for my Clap When You Land live show, and then I'll catch up with you later on, probably with another cup of tea and a little bit more of Mexican Gothic. And just like that, it has accidentally just become Friday. This week has completely escaped me. I think between being at work and then teaching a few yoga classes and just trying to not become completely exhausted, I have just not picked up the camera at all this week. I have been reading, but I just haven't found any time for reading updates, and I'm also really not a fan of filming when it's dark outside because the quality just looks so much worse, and because we're getting towards autumn now that we're in September, by the time I'm getting home from work and having dinner and all of that stuff, it's pretty much already dark. So with that being said, I have got a few reading updates to share with you. Of course, regarding Mexican Gothic, which was the book that I've been reading this week. Don't want to spill my tea. So I did pick this one up, I think, on Sunday of last week, and I am on page 209. This book has about 300 pages, so I'm 2/3 of the way through and I'm absolutely loving it. I've heard mixed things about this book because I think some people are not such fans of the like gory style of horror that this book leans towards, but I personally am not like squeamish, so I really don't mind that and I am absolutely loving it. Just to summarise what is going on in this book, we have our main character Noemi, and she has been called away to a small town, and she goes off to this small town to visit a mansion called High Place, which is where her cousin has recently moved to. Her cousin Catalina recently got married and moved off to this mansion called High Place. They didn't know much about her husband or anything to do with his family, and then Catalina has sent a letter to Noemi and her dad basically saying that she's ill and she thinks that her husband and his family are trying to poison her. So of course Noemi goes straight away to try and help her cousin, and when she gets there she finds out that High Place is a very, very strange place. She can't seem to get a grip on whether Catalina is actually being poisoned, whether she's in danger, or whether there's something wrong with the house, or whether maybe she genuinely is just ill and needs potentially like psychiatric medical attention. And yet the family seem very, very reluctant to let anyone else except for their personal family doctor see her. So Noemi is in this very unique position where she doesn't personally feel very comfortable at High Place with this very, very odd and strict family, and yet she also doesn't want to leave because she doesn't want to leave her cousin in danger. And then every now and then you just get this splash of paranormal haunted house activity where it seems like maybe it's not the family themselves that are the ones that are doing something wrong, but this corruption of this house that seems like it could be cursed. So there are so many different layers. There's also kind of some romantic things going on which are kind of unexpected, and I'm interested to see where they go because I'm quite a fan of those parts, and just in general this book is incredible. Now as it's Friday and I started this vlog almost 2 weeks ago, I'm going to bring this vlog to an end here because this was meant to be a Summerween vlog and it's kind of expanded out over that week. However, I have really been enjoying this book and of course the guest list, which I actually did read for Summerween. So a big thank you to Gabby and Olivia for hosting Summerween because I had a really great time taking part, although I didn't quite manage to read as much as I'd hoped to. And in general, I'm definitely going to be continuing on with Mexican Gothic. I've been reading it on my lunch breaks at work, which is where I've been doing most of my reading this week. But I'm going to be starting a new weekend reading vlog tonight when I get home from work. So I'll be talking about Mexican Gothic and that, and probably sharing my concluding thoughts. So if you're interested in hearing what I think of that book at the end and what I rate it, that will be in the next vlog that goes up after this one. So without further ado, I'm obviously ready to head off to work for another day, the final day of the week, thankfully, because I'm so tired. So I will catch up with you in my next vlog, but thanks so much for watching and I'll see you next time.